It's 97 degrees in San Antonio at 3:55. Paul Venema with KONO News. Republican presidential candidate Richard Nixon interrupted his campaign today to fly to Washington for a hospital visit with former President Eisenhower. Nixon does not expect to see Eisenhower personally, but he plans to speak with Mrs. Eisenhower at Walter Reed Hospital. Nixon flew to Washington after campaign appearances in Ohio and Pennsylvania. Meanwhile, Army doctors indicated today there's no way to say with any certainty whether former President Eisenhower will survive his seventh heart attack. As they worded it, prospects for survival are guarded. In other words, there is an unpredictable margin between life and death. A medical bulletin said there's been a favorable trend in the pattern of abnormal heart rhythm action. This is the basic problem of his heart attack. The general's condition, however, remains critical. Governor Samuel Shapiro of Illinois has ordered the National Guard troops to be called to active duty for next week's Democratic National Convention. Shapiro this afternoon told the state's Adjutant General Leo Boyle to call up such troops as are necessary to aid civil authorities in order to preserve life, property, and maintain order in the city of Chicago in connection with disorders in that city. For details, we switch to correspondent Bill Greenwood in Chicago.
Thousands of federal troops at Fort Hood, Texas are standing by for duty if needed to quell disturbances during the Democratic National Convention. Officials here say the regular Army units would be deployed only if the thousands of city, state, and National Guard units are unable to maintain order. It is understood that several hundred guardsmen will be bivouacked in parks for immediate use should trouble erupt. When the convention opens next week, streets around the International Amphitheater will be barricaded. Persons entering the area will be checked as far as 1 mile from the convention hall. To prevent possible underground entries into the area, city officials have sealed off all manhole covers near the convention site. Scores of police cars will patrol the streets above. Bill Greenwood in Chicago.
Senator George McGovern drew applause at the Democratic platform hearings in Washington today when he urged immediate moves to end the war in Vietnam. As the South Dakota Democrat put it, we must stop saving face and start saving lives. In addition to ending the war in Vietnam, McGovern called for adoption of a platform that will avoid any more Vietnams.
Let us go to Chicago determined to end the killing in Vietnam now. And then let us chart a new foreign policy that will keep us free from future Vietnams. We Democrats bear a special burden before the American people in 1968 because 4 years ago we sought their votes on a platform of peace, no wider war. So let us determine to end this war now. We can do no less if we expect either moral justification or political victory in November.
Critics of the nation's Southeast Asian policy spoke first in Washington today. The administration's case will be presented at a special session tonight. Senator Eugene McCarthy's forces shifted their strategy today in the Democratic National Convention's credentials battle. One of the senator's chief strategists said in Chicago he's dropping any plans to keep all challenged delegates from participating in convention proceedings. Instead, Stephen Mitchell, the McCarthy camp, says no objection to the temporary seating of contested delegates as long as they do not vote in any dispute involving themselves. At the Bexar County Courthouse, testimony continues in the 175th District Court murder trial of 42-year-old Henry Vasquez Luna of 210 Owasso Walk. Testimony began shortly after 1 o'clock today following jury selection that began yesterday. Allied spokesmen in Saigon say 3 days of savage fighting have cost the enemy 739 dead while 69 Americans were killed. South Vietnamese casualty figures still are being compiled. An Army medic was awarded the Silver Star for bravery in Vietnam at Brooke Army Medical Center today. Here is a report from Sal Monastery at the Office of Information.
A medical crewman recovering from wounds sustained during an ambush near Hue, South Vietnam in February has been awarded the Silver Star for his total devotion to duty and unreserved dedication to the wounded. Colonel William H. Moncrief, Jr., a commanding officer of Brooke General Hospital, presented the Silver Star to Specialist 4 Alex D. Spivey during a special ceremony this morning. Specialist Spivey, an airborne medic, was cited for exceptionally valorous action on February 15th while on a combat patrol near Hue with the 101st Airborne Division. His citation read, in part, he brought wounded men out of the line of fire at considerable risk to his own life and treated them. He continued his efforts to treat the wounded, constantly exposing himself to enemy fire with complete disregard for his own personal safety. Specialist Spivey is a patient at Brooke General Hospital. From Brooke Army Medical Center, this is Army Specialist Sal Monastery reporting.
A late buying flurry gave the stock market another gain for the record, its 5th in 6 sessions. Paul Roberts reports from New York.
The United Press International Stock Market Indicator shows prices closed up 0.13%. The Dow Jones Industrials closed up 0.99. Volume on the New York Exchange, 10,630,000 shares, and on the American Exchange, 5,560,000 shares. Among the most widely held stocks, AT&T is down 1/2, General Motors is up 1/2, Standard Oil of New Jersey is down 3/4, General Electric is down 1/2, and General Telephone and Electronics is down 3/8. This is Paul Roberts reporting from New York.
San Antonio weather, partly cloudy and warm through tomorrow with considerable early morning cloudiness. Expect a high both days in the upper 90s, a low tonight in the mid-70s. Currently, barometric pressure is falling, winds from the southeast at 14 miles per hour. Relative humidity now 43%. Under partly cloudy skies at KONO in San Antonio, it's 97 degrees. That's what's happening today, August 20th, 1968.
1 year ago today.